Okay, right now we're going to work on lesson 103. It's on page 149 of your spelling workbook. And just like lesson 102, this is a little different because we're not listening to everybody speak out loud, but I still want you to work on mouthing or saying the words in your head and going through the whole lesson. Right, we're going to start with homonyms. Here's a sentence. We had ice cream for dessert. Here's how you spell that dessert. D-E-S-S-E-R-T. In your head, spell the word dessert that refers to food served at the end of a meal. D-E-S-S-E-R-T. Here's a new morphograph that does not stand alone. The morphograph is moat. Spell moat. M-O-T-E. We're going to spell some words that have the morphograph moat. The first word is demote. What's the first morphograph in demote? D. Next morphograph, moat. Let's spell demote. D-E-M-O-T-E. Next word, promote. What's the first morphograph in promote? Pro. Next morphograph? Mote. Spell promote. P-R-O-M-O-T-E. Next word is motive. What's the first morphograph in motive? Mote. Next morphograph? Ive. I-V-E. Spell motive. Remember, you're going to drop the E in mote. Go. M-O-T-I-V-E. Motive. Last word is emotion. First morphograph in emotion is E. Next morphograph, mote. Last morphograph, ion. Spell emotion. Go. E-M-O-T-I-O-N. Emotion. All right, here are two words, actor and helper. In words like actor, the ending is spelled O-R. In words like helper, the ending is spelled E-R. Here's a rule for spelling many words that end with the morphograph O-R. There are rule breakers, but for many words. Use O-R if a form of the word ends I-O-N. The rule is use O-R if a form of the word ends ion or I-O-N. Say it with me. When do you use ending O-R? Use O-R if a form of the word ends I-O-N. Listen to this word, instruct. Is there a form of the word instruct that ends I-O-N? What is that word? Instruction. So how do we spell the last morphograph in instructor? With an O-R, because a form of instruct ends with I-O-N. Compose. Is there a form of the word compose that ends I-O-N? So if you add I-O-N to composed, you get a real word. Is there a word called composition? No. So how do you spell composer? With an E-R. Perform. Is there a form of the word that ends I-O-N? No, there is not a perform-ion. So performer is E-R or O-R? E-R. Protect. Is there a form of the word protect that ends I-O-N? Yes, and that word is protection. So, how do we spell the last morphograph in protector? With an O-R. So find part A on your worksheet. There are words in column 1. Some of these words there is a form that ends I-O-N. In others, there is no I-O-N form. If there is an ion form of the word, write that form in the second column. If there is no I-O-N form, leave the second column blank. When do you use the ending OR? In the last column, write the word with the morphograph OR or ER. When do you use OR? If a form of the word ends I-O-N. So for example, word 1 is fact. Is there an I-O-N form of that word? We say faction. Faction is a word. So in the second column, under I-O-N form, you are going to write faction. So how do we spell the last morphograph in factor? With an O-R. So in the last column, write factor. Word 2 is design, and so on. So in the second column, write the I-O-N. Is there an I-O-N form of design? Sorry, design? No. So just leave that blank. And in the third form, so would designer be ER or OR? Write it correctly. Next word is invent. Is there an I-O-N form of invent? Invention. That is correct. Write it in the second column. Invention. So since there's an I-O-N form, does inventor end OR or ER? It ends with OR. So write inventor in the last column. Number 4, act. Is there an ion form of act? That would be action. So does actor end with ER or OR? Hopefully you'll get this one right because it's right on the screen. Number 5, speak. Is there a speaction? Speakian? No, so leave the second column blank and then write the correct ending for speaker. Photograph. Is there a photographian? No. So leave the second column blank and write the correct form of photographer in the last column. Let's check what you have. Fact, you should have faction and factor, F-A-C-T-O-R. Designer, D-E-S-I-G-N-E-R. Number 3, you should have invent, invention, inventor, I-N-V-E-N-T-O-R. Number 4, act, action, actor, A-C-T-O-R. Number 5, there's no I-O-N form, so we go from speak to speaker, S-P-E-A-K-E-R. Photograph, again, there's no I-O-N form, so we go from photograph, to photographer, P-H-O-T-O-G-R-A-P-H-E-R. Find part B on your worksheet. The sentence should say, the champion became a prominent citizen. Say that sentence to yourself as I say it one more time. The champion became a prominent citizen. Fill in the blanks of the word. The champion became a prominent citizen. Check your work and then copy the sentence correctly on the lines below, please. The champion became a prominent citizen. We're going to move on to part C. Remember when you use the doubling rule? We use the doubling rule when the word ends in a short CVC morphograph. Point to Rob. Does Rob end in a short CVC morphograph? What's the morphograph it ends in? Rob. So do you use the doubling rule when you spell robbing? Instead of spelling robbing out loud, I'm going to ask you to write it underneath the word rob. Write robbing. Number 2, repel. Does the word end in a short CVC morphograph? Yes, it ends with the morphograph pel. So do you double when spelling repelling? Write repelling underneath repel. Subvert. Does that word end in a short CVC morphograph? So do you double when you spell subverted? Write subverted underneath subvert. Cut. Ask yourself if that word ends in a short CVC morphograph. What's the morphograph? So do you double when spelling cutting? Write cutting underneath cut. Let's check. Robbing, R-O-B-B-I-N-G. Repelling, R-E-P-E-L-L-I-N-G. Subverted, S-U-B-V-E-R-T-E-D. And cutting, C-U-T-T-I-N-G. Go ahead and finish the rest of the worksheet. It goes on to page 150 on your own.